Okay. Before I start, I just wanted to mention that I have started a Twitch, if you do not know. So my link for my Twitch will be down below. I stream 4 hours a day, 5 days a week on Twitch. So catch me if you can. Hello. This is a bit of a strange setting, isn't it? I've never filmed a YouTube video standing up before, but here I am. So, I have made a video on this channel before about sleep paralysis. It will be linked somewhere nearby. It was just, I had a sleep paralysis nightmare and I woke up and wrote it all down, and I had never done that before, so I decided to read it out loud. So there is that one. But I have had so many different kinds of sleep paralysis experiences that I thought it might be interesting to chat about a couple more of them. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. I've got a couple of stories for you guys. I'm going to tell the story of the first time I ever had sleep paralysis. I'm going to end off the video with probably my scariest sleep paralysis experience, which is also one that involves like an actual apparition. And then my most recent sleep paralysis experience, as well as two more where one where I couldn't breathe and one where I couldn't move. So just a variety of different sleep paralysis experiences, because as I say, I've had a lot of different kinds of sleep paralysis. I think that sometimes people think that sleep paralysis is just one thing. It's just where you can't move your body, or it's just false awakenings, or it's just like you open your eyes and see something that isn't there. So yeah, let's get right into it with my first ever sleep paralysis experience. So, first time I ever had sleep paralysis was in, I believe, 2017. I was definitely going through some stuff and my anxiety was through the roof. And I remember being in my university dorm room and I was taking a nap between classes, I believe. And I am pretty sensitive to light when I sleep. So I had a scarf covering my eyes to keep the light out. And that's something that I've noticed to be recurring with my sleep paralysis. I don't even think I've ever had sleep paralysis like at nighttime when I'm going to sleep for the night, you know. My sleep paralysis almost always happens if I'm taking a nap, or if I like was asleep, woke up, and now I'm kind of dozing. Because sleep paralysis is that kind of like half awake, half asleep area. So my first sleep paralysis experience was honestly pretty typical. It's kind of what you would think of when you think of sleep paralysis. I felt a pressure on my chest as if there was something sitting on my chest. Like I said, my eyes were covered, so I couldn't see whatever was there. But there was a small gap under the scarf where a little bit of light was coming through. I could see a little crack of something underneath the scarf. So I remember seeing a black mass on my chest. It was shapeless. It didn't look like anything, but it looked like there was something there. Just looking at it underneath my scarf. It's raining really hard. I hope you guys can hear me okay. To be honest, I don't really remember too much about how I came out of it, or if I had multiple false awakenings or anything like that. I just remember afterwards sending my friends a message and being like, I'm pretty sure that I just experienced sleep paralysis for the first time, and that was horrible. It was so scary, being unable to breathe and also seeing like a demon on my chest, essentially. So that was the first time I ever experienced sleep paralysis. After that, I had it fairly regularly. I would say I definitely think that it was a symptom or a manifestation of my own anxiety. I definitely am not of the opinion that sleep paralysis is a supernatural, paranormal phenomenon. I think it was just my own anxiety and being in the space between wake and asleep. Now on to my most recent sleep paralysis experience. And the reason that this one is interesting is because although it was sleep paralysis, it was also the most lucid dream I think I've ever had. So in my mind, the difference between sleep paralysis and a lucid dream is that lucid dreaming is sort of a skill that you can master. I mean, I guess some people are probably just naturally good at it, but the skill to realize you're dreaming and then control your dreams from there. Sleep paralysis is more like, oh, I'm dreaming, I'm stuck inside a dream, I can't get back to my body, where is my body, I'm panicking, I'm freaking out. And this dream was kind of both somehow. So in real life, my awake body, my body, was, I was sleeping at a friend's place. I was crashing at their place for a couple of days, and I was sleeping in their bed. In the dream, I wake up in the same bed I fell asleep in the same apartment, and I walk out into the living room and notice that all the furniture is different and the layout of the apartment is different, which struck me as odd, and I think I started to realize pretty immediately that I might be dreaming. I remember at that point going back to the bed and kind of laying down, and it was an uncomfortable feeling because I had realized that I was dreaming, but I still had a little bit of that discomfort of, okay, now that I know I'm dreaming, like what now? You know, like now I'm stuck here? Is that the deal? So I was a little bit stressed out because a little bit of that sleep paralysis feeling that you can't get back to being awake. But I thought to myself, in the dream, had a very conscious thought pattern that was like, okay, so from what I've heard, it's not a good idea to panic. It's a better idea to just go with the flow. So I did. I was like, okay, I'm dreaming. I'm a part of this dream now. So I am just going to be me, move about this dream, and wake up when I wake up. It's all good. It's all good. And so that's what I did. Things that happened in the dream. There were people in the apartment that I was in that I didn't know or recognize. And they knew me in the dream. They were talking to me and we were interacting. Just a couple of people in an apartment. But I didn't know them. And I felt a bit like an imposter. I was like, I don't belong in this universe, but I'm pretending that I do. You know, just trying to play along with the other characters in the dream. You know, beep boop, hope nobody, oops, camera's gone out of focus. Here we go. You know, just kind of like hoping nobody notices that I don't belong here, you know? The dream kind of started to get more and more surreal, and it went on for a really long time, it felt. And the longer it went on, the less sure that I was that I actually was dreaming. I started to think like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is my life. Maybe this wasn't my life, but it is now. Other things happened. I remember we were at a house by a really beautiful, like, little lake. I don't know what to call it, a stream, and a pretty garden, and oh, there was there were these little, have you seen, you know, like bull reeds, is that what they're called? Those like little fluffy reeds that sit near like bodies of water. And I remember picking one up and it like disintegrated in my hand and turned into like all of these little fuzzy bugs like crawling all over me, and I was so grossed out. Got goosebumps just thinking about it. I also remember like sitting by the TV with my brother and my cousin, and at that point I was like, now now I'm sure that I'm here forever. And then I woke up. And my immediate thought when I woke up was, I knew it. I knew it. I was right. I'm awake. Now I'm awake. I remember before I couldn't feel my body. I remember in the dream trying to feel my body and being like, okay, this doesn't feel right. I can't smell properly. I can't taste properly. And then I woke up and I was like, this is it. This is the real one. This is me. I'm so happy. I was so relieved. I like rolled onto my back and like sprawled across the bed and I was like, oh, thank God I'm back. And yeah, it was a really weird one. That was a really, really, really strange experience, but interesting. So onto a sleep paralysis experience where I was unable to move. Always just interesting how I have had all these experiences and I can identify them all as being sleep paralysis, but they were all so different. In this sleep paralysis instance, I actually don't think that I dreamt of anything. Or maybe I did have, I'm sorry, I'm so fuzzy on the details of some of these, but in this instance, I might have had a couple of false awakenings, maybe, I don't remember, but I remember waking up and opening my eyes and looking down at my body, and it was as if there was a body in my mind that I had control of, but I was looking at my physical body and was not able to move it. So I felt as if I was moving, and I was desperately trying to move my limbs, move my arms, move my legs, because I was paralyzed, literally paralyzed. And I felt like I was moving when is it just way too loud to film right now? I don't really know what to do about the weather. Okay, what was I saying? Right, so it felt like I was moving my body. I don't know how else to put that. Like, when you move your arm, you feel it, you know what I mean? And it felt like the movement was occurring, but I was looking at myself and my body was not moving and I could not get it to move. And I was freaking out. When that happens, the tendency and the instinct is to panic and fight. And it feels like you are like trying to fight your way back to being awake, but you don't know how. And yeah, eventually I was able to wake myself up and just sort of like thrash back into reality. Onto a pretty interesting one where the result of the sleep paralysis was that I was unable to breathe. Once again, I don't remember a lot of the dream, which is probably for the best. I don't want to bore you guys with too many details, but in the dream, I was hanging out with someone who is a very good friend of mine, but who is also kind of my ex in the dream. I mean, in real life, but in the dream, we were hanging out. And I don't remember what all was going on, but at a certain point in the dream, his ex-girlfriend showed up in the dream. And we got into a huge fight, which is unusual because, I mean, I would never. But for some reason, we got into a huge fight and I tackled her into a swimming pool, and we were both submerged under the water in the swimming pool, and I was holding her by the throat. And obviously neither of us could breathe because we were in a swimming pool. And the result of that was that in real life I stopped breathing and was not able to breathe. Which was really scary. And I woke up taking a huge gasp of air and feeling very unsettled because that whole situation is so... I mean, I'm not a fighting person, and I'm certainly not the kind of person to fight one of my, partner's exes. So yeah, strange, just strange. The last story that I'm going to tell, however, is a scary one. It's definitely, I would say, probably the worst that experience that I've had. I mean, they've all been really scary and unsettling, but I think you'll understand when I tell the story. So this was actually a long time ago, much closer to my first sleep paralysis experience ever. It might even have been my second one. And once again, I was in my residence room, in my bed, taking a nap during the day, eyes covered. Or were they? Doesn't matter. And again, I don't remember much about what I was dreaming about. But this was probably one of the only experiences I've had with sleep paralysis where I've actually opened my eyes and seen something in my environment. And what I saw was, actually, trigger warning for this, it's pretty gnarly. And if you're sensitive to sexual assault. Yeah, so what I saw was this really creepy, dead looking nun. Kind of like the nun from The Nun, but she was quite plump, messed up, creepy eyes, veins all up on her face, blood, like black and purple, like really, really gross looking, creepy nun. And she was on top of my body, and she had these long fingernails. And keep in mind, so my eyes are open and I'm frozen. I can't move my body, my eyes are open, and I'm looking at her. And she is on my body and scratching me with her fingernails, and I can feel them digging into my skin. And she scratches at my, like, genitals, like trying to get at them with her fingies, which was obviously, you know, really freaky, really, really, really scary and painful. It hurt. I could feel it. And yeah, again, I don't really remember how that dream came to an end, but yeah, I woke up and I have never really forgotten that one. Not a nice experience to have. Anyway, I know these stories were a little bit scattered, but hopefully you found them interesting. If you have any sleep paralysis experiences to share, you can share them down below. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you like me and want to see more from my channel, you can click the subscribe button down below. And I make new videos. I do make new videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I love you. Bye. And sweet dreams.